start recording?
Okay, can I start? Do I have the permission to start?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, respected members and leaders. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all for today's exciting webinar on decentralized finance, which is also called as DeFi, as organized by the Muscat chapter of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. As you are aware, the ICI Muscat chapter have always tried to provide and enhance knowledge and skill set of its members by organizing CPE webinars for traditional areas relevant to members, as well as non-traditional and emerging areas like blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Today's program is one among the various. Before I formally open the floor for our today's respected guest and speaker, I would like to touch base upon basic question of what is decentralized finance. Decentralized finance, or DeFi, is a global open alternative to the current financial system. It is a product that let you borrow, save, invest, trade, and more. Good thing is it is based on open source technology that anyone can program with. With this and without further delay, allow me to hand over stage to our chairman, C. Ravi Devaraji, for welcome address. Raviji, over to you.
Thank you, Diganji. Respected Chief Guest Sulaiman Al-Harthi, CEO, Ali's Islamic Bank, CA Sunil Talati, Past President, ICI, Guest Speaker, Mr. Nilesh Moria-ji, our leaders, Davis Kalukuranji, Prabhuji, and our members. Welcome you to all today's event on decentralized finance, the past, present, and the future. Decentralized finance, DeFi, as defined by Diganji, has got incredible growth during the COVID period. Now, in last 4 years, I was just Googling out. Then I saw that 1 billion to over 32 billions are being scored in during the COVID period itself. Still, this term is new for many of us. So I was curious to understand the trend and what is working on the today's as DeFi. I'm sure that our guest speaker, Mr. Nilesh, will take us through the journey of DeFi and future impacts it will have on the finance sector. Since I am new to this term, I will leave the wisdom to our speaker make us familiar with the term. Oman faced a huge cyclone recently named Sahin. It has affected heavily to some of parts of the Oman, especially Kabura, Soweik, where in the center of the cyclone was. We pray for the speedy recovery of the affected people and urge all our members to support and contribute to as a helping hand for the needy. I would like to share a few of our announcements. We urge all to renew your membership if at the earliest, if not already made. To check your membership status, you can log into the ICI Muscat chapter website app as well. And if you are unable to log into app, you may kindly contact any of our MC members. We are coming up with exclusive programs and events for paid members. We are continuously in discussion with our sponsors, CBFS, to organize physical events, and we'll announce the same shortly after due permission is sought from the CBFS. We also urge all our to contribute the chapter in the form of publishing research papers, sharing your recent achievements, articles, and jobs, if any, so that we can put it in our website as well as on the newsletter. And this will also support us to retain our Best Chapter Award for this year as well. ICI Muscat chapter is coming up with a high-profile event on 14th of November. And along with in coordination with the CBFS, is as per requirement of this MOU. And any of the members is interested to participate can enroll with the CBFS or with us. Our upcoming events includes felicitation of the commerce toppers, which will be happening today in the evening. Omani Women's Day celebration on 16th of October. Big data and data privacy at the end of the October month. Hope you are enjoying our events and getting benefited out of it. Thank you and happy learning. Over to you, Diganji.
Thank you, Raviji, for your address and informing us about the activities of the chapter. Now I would like to request CA Jim Joseph to introduce our chief guest, Mr. Sulaiman Al-Harthi, who is the CEO of Ali's Islamic Bank. Over to you, Jim Bhai.
Thank you, Diganji. In fact, Mr. Sulaiman is a very known figure to all of us. He might be knowing half of our members personally, but as part of the protocol, I will introduce him in few words. Mr. Sulaiman Al-Harthi is the Chief Executive Officer of Ali's Islamic Bank. Prior to that, he was Deputy CEO of Oman Arab Bank. He also worked with Bank Muscat and he was the deputy CEO of Mithaq Islamic Banking of Islamic Banking Window of Bank Muscat. He's sitting in the board of several companies and social organizations. He's a board member of Takaful. He's a board member of Tatweer. He's in the board of trustees of Gulf College. Sulaiman is a graduate from Oman Institute of Bankers. He completed his executive management programs at Harvard and INSEAD. He's also a MBA holder from UK in finance. With these few words, let me invite Mr. Sulaiman Al-Hatti to address the gathering. Please, sir.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and good morning to all. Before I start, I would like on your behalf to pass our condolences to the people who have lost their loved ones or who have lost their belongings in this cyclone in the north and south of Batna. I was there myself yesterday, and will be going again today to try and see how we can help in reducing the tensions and helping people to come out of this tragic situation. Guest of honor, CA Sunil Talati, President ICAI, CA Ravi Deora, Chairman, CA Prabhu, past Chairman, Speaker Mr. Nilesh Moria, and the managing committee members of Muscat chapter and members. It gives me a great pleasure to be among you on this webinar titled The Decentralized Finance, the Past, Present, and Future. We are all being called to have
Excuse me, sir. I think you're. Sir, excuse me. We are not able to hear you, sir. Sir, your internet or your voice is breaking, sir. Raviji, you are able to hear? Any other members?
I'm same here. I think he left.
So, unfortunately, we have lost the connection because of.
We'll wait for it. Yeah, join back.
We'll just wait for 2 minutes.
Sulaiman, sir.
Yes, I can hear you. Hello?
Sorry, sir, we lost you in between, actually. Hello?
Hello, yes, Ustadi, we lost you actually. Yes, can we hear you?
Still.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello?
So maybe you can switch off the video. You can speak.
Switch off the video, sir. Switch off the video, sir.
Sir, unfortunately, we are not able to hear you. Yeah. Sir is there. Sir, yeah,
yes,
you are there.
Yes. Sorry.
Hello? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Sir, you are there, sir.
Yes, Ustadi.
Sir, you are on mute, sir, I think. It is connecting. Your audio is connecting. Just give it 1 minute.
Please unmute.
Yeah, you are connected, sir.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Okay.
Yes. Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, I apologize. Looks like there is a problem with the internet.
Recording.
Yeah. So did you hear me from the beginning, or should I start from the beginning?
We heard you until you spoke about you going to be visiting Batina today.
Yes.
And then we lost you.
Okay. So yes, the guest of honor, CA Sunil Talati, President ICAI, CA Ravi Deora, Chairman, CA Prabhu, Past Chairman, Speaker Mr. Nilesh Moria, and Managing Committee members of Muscat Chapter and members. It gives me a great pleasure to be among these distinguished members on this webinar titled Decentralized Finance, the Past, Present, and Future. We are all being called to have deep sense of responsibility and accountability to ourselves, to others, to the nation, and the world today. As the world has been impacted by COVID-19 pandemic, and as we are trying to bring back our lives into normal, we have to admit that COVID-19 has disrupted the global economy, and keeping in view of the rapidly changing world, encompassing and presenting challenges in the digital revolution, the regulatory requirements, ethics, corporate governance, transparency, etc. All of you are being an accounting and auditing and finance professionals have great challenge to overcome this situation and assist the government, regulators, and all stakeholders to come out with risk mitigation plan to overcome this pandemic and actively engage and contribute in nation building. Since we're living and doing business now in such an increasingly complex, uncertain, and rapidly changing world, how an organization manages its finance is critical to its success or failure. The finance profession has a vital role to play in helping their organizations identify and manage new challenges as well as adapt to change. Greater risks mean that in order to effectively respond to these challenges, the finance function needs to embrace a range of responsibilities beyond their traditional comfort zone of financial oversight. Challenging current practices, championing best practices, and positioning the finance function role as a catalyst for improvement, so that the organization as a whole achieves its strategic objectives going forward in digital world. It is just timely and appropriate to organize webinars like this for all finance professionals to be ready to be equipped with the needs of the changing world. We appreciate and value the efforts of ICAI, Muscat, being the knowledge partner with CBFS, with the Long Business Association of Oman and India. The incredible finance role that the Indian Chartered Accountants play in the business arena in Oman and in nurturing and capacity building, knowledge sharing to Omani accounting and financial professionals. As I always believe that in the long history of humankind, those who learned to collaborate and improve most effectively have prevailed and sustained. I also would like to commend ICAI Muscat, especially CA Prabhu and his team, who got the Best Overseas Chapter Award for Oman for the year 2020. Congratulations. And to colleague of Banking and Financial Studies who won the Research Paper Award from ICAI. Indeed, it is making us all proud. On behalf of the distinguished guests and members of ICAI Muscat, I welcome you to this meeting, and we are looking forward that this event will contribute more to our knowledge will create more cooperation and team building to its members. Best wishes and stay safe and healthy. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. It's great
Thank you,
honor
sir,
for us.
for your kind words, and thank you for appreciating us for our efforts. And we are pleased that you are here and you have spared your valuable time today. Move on to the next I would like to request CA Gaurav to welcome our past president of ICI, CA Sunil Talati. Gauravji, over to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. We pray for the speedy recovery of Oman from the cyclone Shaheen. Introducing CA Sunil Talati ji. He is a renowned chartered accountant and a past president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for the year 2007-2008, as well as the vice president of the Institute for the year 2006-2007. It was for the first time in 70 years of the history of ICI that a CA from Gujarat, Mr. Sunil, has been elected as the president. Mr. Sunil, in addition to being a fellow chartered accountant, also holds a Master of Commerce as well as Bachelor of Law from HL College of Commerce, and had held various posts of office bearers like Secretary, Treasurer, Vice President in Rotaract Club, Junior JCs, and Junior Chamber. He was elected as first Rotaract Governor in India, and this was appointed as National Chairman of the Council of Rotaract Governors. Doing practice under the name Talati and Talati LLP, having offices at Ahmedabad, Anand, Baroda, Surat, Mumbai, Cochin, and Delhi. He has been executive member of the Income Tax Bar Association in 1980 and Chartered Accountants Association, Ahmedabad, and Sports Clubs of Gujarat, and as well as board of Karnavati Club Limited since inception. In 1982, he was elected by securing the highest votes in the entire Western region of WIRC of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and was appointed as vice chairman in the same year. He was appointed as public representative in the governing body of Ahmedabad Stock Exchange by Government of India, Ministry of Finance in 1985 and 1986. He was elected as president of Chartered Accountants Association, Ahmedabad, for the year 1988-89, and also selected as member of Executive Committee of Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Ahmedabad, for the year 1988 and 89. He has written several papers on tax laws and has given talks in various seminars, conferences, and meetings all over Gujarat as well as all over the country. For almost 20 years, he was a co-author of the Reddy Reckoner, which is published in Gujarati. He was regularly contributing articles in Financial Express and was regularly writing as a contributor and editor in monthly Gujarati book called Tax Reporter as well. He was elected as the president of All Gujarat Federation of Tax Accountants for the year 2013-2014. He was elected as a member of Governing Council, Accounting, Auditing, and Bookkeeping Services sector, governed by SCPC, set up by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, for the constitutive third term, for 3 terms in 2015 to 17, 17 to 19, and again in 2019 to 2021. Recently, he has been elected as Vice Chairman of the SCPC for the term September 2019 to 2021. It is first time in the history of Gujarat that a chartered accountant has been elected from the state of Gujarat as a member and chairman of such a reputed institution under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. In 2017, he has also been appointed by Government of Gujarat as a member in the Fee Regulatory Committee for all medical colleges in Gujarat. He has also been appointed in the Special Committee of Coal India Limited for considering valuation of all coal mines. Recently, he has been appointed as an independent director of Gujarat State Financial Services by Government of Gujarat. Welcome, C.S. Sunil ji. Over to you.
Thank you so much for a very detailed introduction of mine. Sometimes when I feel happy listening to my own introduction when you are telling so in detail. But let me convey my deep sense of thanks and gratitude to the chairman and the entire office bearers of Muscat chapter of ICI for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share some of my views and be part of this wonderful seminar, or I should say webinar. Honorable Sri Sulaiman ji, past President Mr. Prabhu, Mr. Ravi, Chairman of Muscat chapter, Sangeeta ji, Jatin, Jignesh, Davis, Digan, and all other office bearers of Muscat chapter, and my dear participants. It's a matter of great pleasure for me to be here today. It's a warm Saturday morning here. As you all know, in Gujarat, we are passing through the famous festival of Navratri. So it's late night. Though COVID impact is much lower, there are controls in Gujarat. But fortunately, India, because of the leadership of Mr. Narendra Modi and steps taken, we are quite safe now from COVID impact. And I'm sure so is the situation in Muscat. I must compliment Muscat chapter for completing almost 12 years of your incorporation. It must be somewhere in 2008-9 after I laid down my office. And the way you have been progressing, I saw your activity reports. The number of activities on various areas and fields is extremely impressive. And I was really happy and impressed to see the number of activities done by you. My compliments to you, not only for winning the award of Best Chapter for 2021, but also for the earlier years consecutively for more than 6 to 8 years. That's a real great achievement. And that speaks volume about how involved, active, and vigilant you are with regard to various activities and knowledge sharing in our field of chartered accountancy. It's a great pleasure for me to share some of the very important points on this today's topic, which Mr. Nilesh is going to address. And I must compliment Muscat chapter for selecting this chapter and selecting such a wonderful speaker on the most burning, important, live, and required topic of the current situation. Let me tell you why it is, because this shows that you are not active, but you are proactive. And you are not moving with the time, but you are moving ahead with the time. And that's my main message today. Topic is not only apt, just you should be happy to know, or I would say all of you would be proud to know that this month, October Chartered Accountant Journal Month, also contained the entire topic on digitization and how important it is, right from blockchain to this digital finance to various other elements of banking, finance, and transactions. So that is how you are in hands in glove with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, that our journal is also talking about the same thing, about the today's chapter, today's topic, which you have selected for the knowledge and benefit of members. This also takes me to very important, and you must find out today, only morning I received the clip from the annual general meeting of Nokia. And the chairman and managing director of Nokia in the annual general meeting said, we did nothing wrong, but we did not move with the time. As you know, Nokia 10 years before was the only phone available. Anyone who was holding the telephone was holding Nokia. Just today, as everybody is holding iPhone. But such a big company of mobile has just almost wiped off. And the reason, the chairman said, while crying, every single member of the board cried when the chairman said, we did nothing wrong, but we did not move with the time. And compliments to you that you are not only moving with the time, but we are moving ahead with the time. And that is the requirement of today. This topic of currency, blockchain, and its the most important aspect in India particularly is with regard to legality. Of course, in Muscat and entire Middle East, or for that matter, in a number of other countries, this is a valid currency, a valid transactions. Maybe as mentioned by Digan, maybe you invest, maybe you trade, maybe you save, maybe you borrow, maybe you lend. But it's a parallel or is it a competitive? And let me share, when Honorable Chairman Mr. Sulaimanji, the chief guest of the today, addressed us, and particularly when he's in the bank, I would in all humbleness say this is a big challenge for the bank activities as well as a big opportunity for banking activities. Particularly the entire banking sector in India has gone a sea change. Gone are the days where you had to stand in the queue for withdrawing money, depositing the checks and withdrawing the amount. Everything is now digitized and computerized. And see the situation of banks in India. Every single bank in India is earning in millions. They have now tons of money with them. They are in search of good borrowers. Now that's the situation of banking industry in India. I'm not giving you a hint of buying shares of banking. That also may be a fallout for the benefit of all investors in Muscat. But banking industry is doing phenomenally good. And for that matter, all banks in India, or for that matter in Oman, Muscat, everywhere, has to appreciate and in turn be ready with this challenge of digitized money, digitized finance. Transactions are made easy. Transactions are made speedier and faster and with great confidentiality. That is the biggest advantage of this financial activities and transaction activities. So that's extremely important. Participant will learn a lot from the learned speaker. Come to India. In 2022, we have a World Congress going on. In spite of COVID impact, in spite of Maharashtra, not as good as Gujarat, things are substantially improving. And by end of 2022, as you all are aware, we are going to have a World Congress at Mumbai in one of the largest hall owned by Reliance, where we will have this event. And I'm sure we will be in a position to participate and meet some of you there. I had been to, as I mentioned in the beginning, I had been to Dubai a number of times. I had been to Doha, but I'd never been to Muscat. As mentioned in the introduction, I have a branch in Cochin, and my coaching partner is definitely visiting Muscat. But I am unfortunate not to visit Muscat so far. And I look forward to visit Muscat and meet all of you and do certain exchanges, not only from the institute point of view, but even from the professional development point of view. That's what the nation is looking for. Under the able leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, you have seen that we have participated in a very big way in Dubai Expo 2020. As a chairman, I am present, as mentioned in the introduction, vice chairman of Service Export Promotion Council, SEPC, and I'll be taking over as a chairman in November. So somewhere in December, I shall be visiting Dubai Expo and we will participate, particularly for the professional development of chartered accountants with regard to online business activities of accounting and auditing profession. How chartered accountants can give services, not of BOP, but knowledge for KPO. And that's what the main focus in SEPC exhibition would be in December. India is moving, world is moving, things are changing fast. Digital finance is taking replacement from the existing old orthodox banking system. And therefore, we have to learn it, we have to digest it, and in turn, we have to implement it. To what extent it is going to be legalized, to what extent it will be now formalized, what will be the laws, rules, and regulations is to be seen for the time to come. But we should be ready with that. Chartered accountants should be ready with the knowledge and expertise of blockchain and in turn about this digital finance. So my heartiest compliments to Muscat chapter once again. I'm sure with the knowledge and experience of learned speaker, all the participants will be benefited. And at the end, we will turn out to be more knowledgeable than what we were before Vanagar. With this, my compliments and best wishes to Muscat chapter and my assurance to be at your service anytime, whenever you are requesting me to do so. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. And just to let you know, sir, we are also supporting the event, World Congress of Accountants. Our chapter is fully supporting this event. And from Muscat, definitely, you know, our members will be visiting this event in numbers. And we thank you so much for also bringing us to a notice that, you know, you will be coming to Dubai and showing opportunities for the chartered accountants. Now, further delay, I would like to invite our founder chairperson, CA Davis, sir, for his address. Davis, sir, over to you.
Before that, you know, Digan, I want to make, I want to extend with the permission of Talati ji. this invitation to Ustad Sulaiman Alardi and his entire team of Alice Bank to see them in November 2022 for the World Congress in Mumbai. Look forward to see you, Ustad Sulaiman Alardi and your team. And we look forward to see the Oman delegation in Mumbai. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your kind words.
Good morning. Good morning.
You are on mute, Mr. Sulaiman.
Thank you very much, Prabhu sir. Thank you very much, everybody. It was a very exciting moment to be among you all. And I hope and wish to be invited in future events so that I can learn from distinguished professionals. And thank you very much all for your contribution to everything, to Oman, to Oman's knowledge and Oman's progress and development. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, everyone.
Thank you very much, Ustadi, and look forward to your engagement.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Raviji, for the opportunity given to me to address this participants of today. And I'm quite happy that one is Mr. Sulaiman Al-Harthi is there. He has been a champion of the Islamic finance. And as the President Sunil Talati said, he is a person who was thinking ahead of his time, because even before Islamic finance was legalized in Oman, he was championing the cause. He has addressed various forums. Even I had the opportunity to share one of the dais of Crow with him, because we introduced one Islamic finance conference that was before the legalization of Islamic finance in Oman. So good to see you, Sulaimanji, here. Thank you very much. And what Mr. Talati is, our association goes back to 2007, 2008. And I don't know whether he remembers, Talati is a president who announced that the Muscat chapter will be formed before he left office, And then as he spoke, our Manoharan was a witness. He was the past president Manoharan. He was coming from overseas conference, and both of them landed in Muscat in sometime in March, April 2007. And then Sunil Talati announced that, before I lay down my office, the Muscat chapter will be established. And what he said, in January 2008, we had the most eminent personality visiting Oman, our past president of India, Pranab Mukherjee, who was then the Minister of Finance. He was visiting Oman, and with the help of the institute and with the help of the Indian Embassy in Oman and Ministry of Foreign Affairs in India and Oman, of course, we are able to sign the MOU that day. And thank you, Sunil Talati for this. And I also have to thank him personally, because when he said that, he will see that the chapter is established in Oman, because I have been trying from 2003 to 2008, to set up the chapter. But what he did was his strategic move. He nominated me to the International Affairs Committee, and things started moving from there. So thank you, Sunilji, for giving me an opportunity like that. I remember with so much gratitude what you have done for Muscat. So thank you, Ji. And we had a good time on the board. We were good friends. We had spent very valuable and enjoyable time in Delhi and Mumbai attending the International Affairs Committee meeting. So thank you very much. And Raviji, I also would like to take this opportunity to request you that, we have to have as many accountants, as many members as possible attending the November 22 World Congress in Mumbai. And, we have to make the Muscat chapter, the presence of Muscat chapter felt in Mumbai, actually. Okay, so thank you, Sunilji. So I hope that you will visit Muscat shortly, because you have been telling again and again you have not visited Muscat so far. I just wanted to remind you about the good times we had in Muscat.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So we are coming up with the physical internals conference, and we will invite you for that now only for that event, sir. So you are invited for this Muscat chapter event.
It will be my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David sir. Thank you, Sunil sir. Thank you, Raviji. Move on to the main topic of today, for which we have gathered. I would now like to invite CA Sangeeta ji to welcome our today's speaker, Mr. Nilesh Moria, who is the Director, Omega Capital and Crypto Angel Investor. Sangeeta ji, over to you.
Thank you, Digant ji. Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. I would like to introduce the speaker for today, Mr. Nilesh ji. He has been the founding member of Aharvad, India's first food and beverage focused consulting company. Nilesh also is a mentor for change, appointed by Niti Aayog and Government of India. He is on the mentor panel of NASCOM Incubator, along with 10 other Atal incubators across India and around the globe. He has been a regular financial contributor to business publications such as Business India, Market Express, and has been a mentor to many startup companies. He is also associated with a technology venture capitalist, Think Venture, in the US, and also is a part of consulting firm in Dubai called Fiducia Business Advisors. Nilesh has a flair for technology and finance and has been led to be one of the top contributors to various companies and publications on blockchain and cryptocurrencies. His article has been published on leading crypto websites such as CryptoGround, Coinage, CryptoSlate, and BTC Manager. He has also been close to the education industry and is currently appointed industry expert on the Board of Studies of Amity University, Rajasthan. He also has taken lectures on finance and career guidance at Mumbai University, IIM Ahmedabad, Amity University Jaipur, Amity University Raipur, Madras School of Economics, and IIM ACIIE. From education perspective, Nilesh Moria holds an Executive Certificate of Management from IIM Ahmedabad, MBA Finance and International Business from Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, and Bachelor's degree in Finance, Accounting and Economics from Mumbai University. With these few words, I introduce and welcome Mr. Nilesh Moria, the speaker for today. Thank you.
Sir, stage is yours, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words. Hope my voice is very clear.
Yes.
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Digenji. Thank you, Sangeeta, for coordinating this. I'm really grateful of speaking to a community which is, far more profound, far more engaging, because I come from a family of chartered accountants. And it's an immense pleasure to have Sunilji, because when I was a student of ICAI, although I never went beyond inter, he was the president in 2007, 2008, and all my documents that are there are signed by him as a president. So it's a very, very great thing to come back to a community which I once belonged to, although I couldn't get that CA tag in front of my name. But yes, it gives me an immense pleasure to be here. I will be touching on a topic that is far more new. There's no one has experience beyond 10 years in this. So if you have an experience of 10 years in cryptocurrency and blockchain, you are equivalent to anyone in the world who's there, because the technology came only 10 years back. It is far more disruptive in the way we live our life, and it's far more engaging. We like Sunil sir said, We don't know where the regulations are going on, where the future lies. But in technology, it is said that if something has survived for 10 years, to write it off directly, it's very, very difficult. Maybe the modifications would come in, but it will become very, very difficult to write it off completely, especially the underlying opportunity that is there, which is known as blockchain. Cryptocurrency, yes, regulators have had their own issues, have their own problems, and it's nothing wrong in that, because the way cryptocurrency began was actually, in all malicious ways it was being used, whether it was to store your black money, whether it was to as extortion money, drugs, a number. You say anything that is wrong in our books, it was used for that. And that's the reason it's becoming very, very difficult for the world to make it, even with the superiorest of the technology, to make it realize that it has far more benefits than negatives. Because every media publication that you go beyond 2016-17 has only spoken about how Bitcoin was used maybe to pay ransom money, maybe to buy drugs, maybe for topics like prostitution, illegal weapons, terrorist financing. And yes, it was scary. Before I begin my presentation, I'll just thought of, giving this 2-minute kind of talk, because to lay down the perspective is very important. And especially for people like yourselves who work very close to the regulator, how do you get it, get it into the right hands? How do we make it, more useful for every one of us? Make it more diligently used in the right way, in the right word. So yes, cryptocurrency, like most of you might have read, if you would have read about it. Otherwise, mostly it comes in papers when some coin just makes someone millionaire, or, when Elon Musk starts speaking about Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, and things like that way. But the world beyond it is far, far huge. It's practically a parallel world that is coming up. It has its own advantages. It has its own disadvantages. And I myself come from a world which is known as traditional finance, which we all are part of today. But what I am trying to do today is trying to bridge that gap between traditional finance and what is we known as the modern finance, which is decentralized finance. Just a second. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I just heard an echo. Till 2016, no one practically knew about what Bitcoin was, what Ethereum was, what blockchain was. In 2016, the first pump in the prices of coin came in, which was driven by something known as the ICO, which is very close to what IPO is. And suddenly the world was awakened to a technology that was, being challenging the world, trying to throw away regulators, trying to throw away government. I mean, that's how it was picturized in front of the world. But I head back into this industry way back in 2013, where I have seen most of this technology grow up on its own. And that's the reason I said it has far superior benefits than the disadvantage that is being portrayed right now. 2000, and before I begin the presentation, one more thing I would like to mention to all the dignitaries. This is my, I think, my 5th or 6th presentation in the region, and especially to regulators. For this 1 hour, let's keep our whatever we have studied in past 10, 20, 30, 40 years in our chartered accountancy book. Just keep it aside, because what I'm going to speak about now, it's going to challenge a lot of accounting standards, industry standards, auditing standards, and those things in places. Banks, governments, we are going to challenge a lot of things in terms of understanding how this disruption could play out and where do we all fit in. If you are, I mean, there are going to be so many unanswered questions, especially coming from the auditing community and the accountant community, because there are still no answers about how the taxations are going to play out, what regulations to follow. And believe me, everyone, I mean, on either side, whether it's the traditional finance or whether it's the modern finance, on both sides, no one has answers to this. And that's the reason it's a belief that it will parallelly exist. So with that, I'll just begin my presentation. Please take it with open mind. Do not try to conflict with what you do in day out. Do not try to conflict it with what ye kaise hoga is not a question, something as we call it here in Hindi, which is like it can't happen or it is impossible to happen. So with that, I'll begin my presentation. It's an open forum. You have a question, please let me know. I can stop, I can explain. There are some concepts which I might have to doubly explain. That's okay. It's completely fine. But in this 1 hour, next 1 hour, I would like to leave you with an open mind and make you at least think over the weekend of what has just happened and how this thing can be incorporated into the existing world.
Sorry, Nileshji, can we keep the questions because there will be many questions. So let participants put their questions in the Q&A forum and chat, and then probably at your session end we can take all these questions.
Definitely. I mean, with all the protocols of the forum, but I'm sure. Please keep writing your questions.
Yeah, there will be many questions.
110% sure of that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Sorry for interruption. Yeah.
No worries, sir. Thank you. Just let me know if you can see my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yeah. So every one of us is familiar now with this coin. Sorry, one second. Every one of us is now familiar with this symbol, which is the Bitcoin symbol. But what we are going to speak about is the dots that you see around it, which is, the blockchain, the connecting world, what has to be there, what not has to be there, how does the regulation work, how the past was, how the present is, and how the future looks like. So firstly, let's speak about traditional finance. Traditional finance is what you, me, I, everyone is part of, whether it's tax authorities, governments, banks, everyone that holds money in their hands or, maybe accounts for it is part of it. In a traditional finance, like you can see in the diagram, this is a very basic diagram. I know the finance world is very complex, but I've tried to break it down to as much as possible. How does the money move in a traditional finance? There's a sender. He goes to a sender bank. Then there are, payment companies or maybe the banking system that is connected globally around. The money moves, the currency is exchanged, the money moves from the payment companies and the central banks to the receiver bank, and then it goes to the receiver. This is a very simple way which how we have dealt with money all across our lives, all across our, since the time money was born, I think this is the way it has been transacted. But what I am going to speak right now and what DeFi is all about is removing the sender's bank, the payment companies, and receiver banks. I'm not saying abolish them, but what we are speaking about a system which will just have a sender and a receiver, and there is going to be no third party where the trust lies upon, and there is going to be no currency. What cryptocurrency and blockchain speaks about is having one currency in the world. And you are speaking about removing all, whether it's the regulatory authorities, whether it's the central authorities, whether it's the various kind of currencies, the sovereign borders which are there, which protect their sovereign currencies. And it will be only about a sender and a receiver sitting anywhere in the world and getting the money as quickly as possible as what we get it right now. And in fact, faster in a lot of cases. So how do you replace all of this? So many people, so many jobs, so many, how does the accounting happen? How does the money will move? What will happen? Now, what blockchain says is all of this will happen with a few computers that are there in place. and definitely internet that we all are aware about. Your mobile phone will become your wallet. You don't have to carry any physical currency. Everything will lie in that powerful device that you currently own. And it's going to be your approver, it's going to be your auditor, it's going to be your banker, and it will have everything. You have the power of your money in your hand. So what decentralized finance says is this is how your future could look like, where your banks, which are brick and mortar right now, might just disappear and money will just move from the sender to buyer, where each of this device could be an approver. It could be a miner, as they call it in the crypto world or the blockchain world. He could be an auditor. He could be an exchange, maybe a stock exchange. It could be a money exchange, anything. But the sender has all power of his money in his own hand. He doesn't have to go and trust. Today, you go to a bank and you deposit money, trusting that this bank is safe, trusting that your money is going to be safe here. Today, you go to a stock exchange, trusting that the price that has been discovered by the stock exchange is the best and you are not being cheated around. But if we look, I'm not taking very back into the history. If you look even after post 2008, we've seen so many banks in India going bust because of malicious activity of some people. We've seen so many job losses. Currently, you might be reading about what's happening in Evergrande. Just because the Chinese authorities are not very transparent, no one knew what was happening. And the banks just went on lending people. In India, we have cases like DHFL and a couple of banks that have gone bust. We all know the famous case of how Mr. Vijay Mallya was, given handsome amount of loans, irrespective of how the collateral was. And you speak about it, and it was all there. Just to bring things on the lighter side, I hope every one of us has seen that the Harshad Mehta web series that has been very popular. I'm sure you all might have seen it. What Mr. Harshad Mehta had done is he had taken advantage of a system which was way laid back, which used to take 30 days to, just the registers to move and record government securities, bank receipts, and, everything was manual. That led to a scam. What the world learned from it was to create a digitized system where everyone could access things around it. Everyone could, look at it, move money faster, records, and the accounting could be done in a very, very streamlined manner, digitally, no paperwork, no disruptions, and things like that. But what happened in that phase is people forgot to give it a layer of transparency. Today, my money that sits in my saving account is not there in the bank. The bank is lending it out to someone else. But I just believe that the bank is lending out to the right people, and it is giving me whenever I want my money, I can get it back. But that's what again has been proven wrong in 2007, 2008. And it looks like we did not learn anything from the previous scams that had happened, where everything was in a physical form, in a physical paper. Everything just got digitized, but still the control was in a few hands, which could just rule the world. Even today, your RBI sits and decides what is going to be a repo rate, reverse repo rate. Your taxation authorities, although I'm sure with various consultations, but still the power is in the hand of you who could make or break anything or everything. What decentralized financial says is this power has to be distributed to everyone. Everyone who is a stakeholder, everyone who's a regulator, everyone who's a government authority. So the way media had put it is this is all against government. It is all against, breaking the regulators, getting malicious people in. It doesn't say that. What it says is it puts government or a bank at the same level as its customer. There is no one who has the power to rule or to make laws that are, a few hands decide the future of a lot of people. So decentralization is only about giving the power of your money in your hands. If you want to lose it, you blame yourself. Let not it be someone else's action. leads to your losses, or maybe, you know, a decision where you were just a recipient of the reaction and not someone who took the action, if I may have to put it in one statement. I'm sure there will be questions, but I'll, like Digenji mentioned, I'll take it at the end of the end of the talk. Now, the premise of this is the web. The web itself is growing. If you know what how the web technology grew from, you know, maybe early 90s, it heads back to early 70s, but the actual world that saw the first signs of computer, World Wide Web, was somewhere close to 93, 94, where, you know, everything was, it just disrupted physical libraries and put everything on a machine, which could be, I mean, the data could be accessed from everywhere. The only thing that was disrupted was the brick and mortar libraries. Like I mentioned, the Harshad Mehta thing, jo kuch paper mein tha, everything that was in a paper now resided in a computer, which could be accessed from everywhere, but nothing changed. Nothing changed in what, how things would function. Instead of a book on a shelf, you had a file in your computer. Then the world in 1999, 2000, when the dot-com bubble happened, went into something known as Web 2.0. Now, what is Web 2.0? Web 2.0 started creating something known as a global database. Today, you go onto an Amazon website, I can post something from India, which will be visible to you in Oman, where you can transact and buy that product, and the product moves from my end to your hand. I can go and create blog posts. I can go on create. Our webinar is a very good example. I'm sitting here in Bombay speaking to you, which gave a global connect. The dots just got even firm, but it still is very much centralized in the hands of few companies. Everyone might have faced a couple of days, in fact, twice in this week, how we were not able to access our social media, our WhatsApps, Instagram, Facebook, everything was just locked because a server at a central company had just crashed. If now just realize, if we had Facebook in multiple servers across the globe, every user was had the power of the content in his own hand and was a part of that server system, which is there, the world wouldn't have faced such a thing. And believe me, this is Facebook, where we are speaking about social media. What happens when, you know, the banking system collapses, or maybe say a State Bank of Oman suddenly gets infected by a virus, and you know, you don't know who has what money, who has how much to pay. Everything just goes for a toss, which will put the world again into a calamity, which is, you know, will be far, far difficult to address it. And secondly, even on the transparency side, you do not have any idea of how things are moving internally. If you post something on Amazon, you don't know whether Amazon is selling it as a right thing. If you post something on Facebook, you might have again heard a lot of controversies happening globally, where the governments are trying, you know, at least here in India, where the government is trying Twitter and Facebook to get their servers into India, disclose the content that is there, which a lot of people call that it's a kind of, you know, taking away your right for speech and right for action, which is there. So, but this is what is going to happen when you have centralized authorities, things happening from one place, command center at one place. It is a world that is, you know, slowly becoming unimaginable, where, you know, you just giving power of your data, the next big thing, into a hands of someone who's using it everywhere and anywhere. We've seen how Facebook was put in front of Congress with Cambridge Analytica of rigging the election results. Your vote, which is the most powerful thing as a Democrat in a democracy, was also rigged. So it's practically like taking away all your powers and giving into a central authority, which can, you know, decide your fate and the reaction that you go, which is leading to the world creating something known as Web 3.0. From a global database, we are becoming a global data bank, where we are saying that individuals have the potential to monetize their own data. Monetize your own data. Again, I'll take you to an example. If you go back when Apple Music was launched, I think it was 2013, 2014. Apple had a big fight with a lot of artists because their contracts were very differently formed. And the royalty that was given to them was practically like only 30-35%. All your effort just being taken away by a marketing company and just paying you 35%. I mean, in other words, it's just like you are being robbed of the 70% that you had. Although, yes, we can debate that it will generate traffic, it will generate a lot of things, but a lot of these singers and artists were already recognized that it's in fact the other way around. If I put it into the Indian context, it's like a Lata Mangeshkar and maybe a Netflix. Netflix can't take away 70% from Lata Mangeshkar. In fact, it's Lata Mangeshkar that will drive the traffic to Netflix. So, you know, that power tussle between the two authorities actually led to further creation of a lot of projects, which I speak about, where, you know, the royalty of the creator remains with him, and rather than it get transferred to someone like a central authority, which is like a Netflix or, you know, your Spotify, your Apple Music. And then if you remove all of these central authorities, if you follow the Web 3.0 model, and if the central authorities go up, then how do you monetize this asset? How do you move that money, which is touted to be on the computer system that I showed you in my previous slide? There you may take Lata Mangeshkar being as a receiver and you listening to her songs being as a sender. You send your, if you like something that what she's doing, you send your money directly to her. You do not have to go to a T-Series or a Saregama to buy that, or even for that reason, Netflix, YouTube, or anyone to buy that. If you like my content, if you like what I'm speaking, you just pay me directly. Why do I need a central authority? And this is the most biggest question where DeFi and traditional finance is stuck right now. Do we continue with an authority that is there in between? Or do we just, you know, make it a party to it rather than someone who's far superior and far more powerful than us? And this is how, where, you know, the regulators and the new age developers or new age founders that you call of cryptocurrencies are actually fighting neck to neck. Fighting in terms, there are a lot of discussions happening. There are a lot of people who want to believe into something like this. But, you know, just because our minds have been trained, our education has been such that we've been told that if you want to keep your money safe, go to a bank. It is, I mean, it becomes far more difficult for any of us to fathom how will the world look like this. So moving, this is the premise of it, of how things are changing, what's happening, where's Web 3.0 coming in, what is cryptocurrency, what is blockchain. Now I'll get into the granularity of what a blockchain technology is and how a cryptocurrency is. And just for everyone's excitement who's been looking at the crypto markets, I'll also teach you how to probably maybe invest a few money as a cryptocurrency, as an asset class where you can, you know, make genuine investments and get returns out of it, and not anything that is, you know, putting money into something which is far more malicious. So what is blockchain? Blockchain is exactly the dots that I spoke to around the B that you saw, which you partly see on this slide as well. It's a technology. Breaking the, I thought of breaking the whole thing into, whole definition into a few points, which for everyone's understanding. It's a technology that permits transactions to gather into blocks and record it. What are blocks now? Blocks are something which is like a, you know, it's actually a box, you can say, where you have a name of a sender, you have the name of a receiver, you have the denominated currency and the amount of it. And all of this, when it's packaged, it comes with a timestamp. Ki ye block, ye din pe, ye time pe bana tha. It was created on this date, this time, and in microseconds. Now, why is this done? It's the security parameter of a block that draws it. If any of the information that is inside it changes, the block will not tally to the previous block. It will not tally. It's exactly like how our panel accounts are there. If your inventory figures from your last year are not carry forwarded to this year and your closing figures are not carry forwarded to previous year, you will find that there is some discrepancy which is around in it. Whether it's a stock inventory, whether it's a cash balance, the discrepancy is there. This is exactly what blockchain is doing. It's creating block after block. And why is this being done? Say, for example, A has 100 rupees. He created a Bitcoin worth 100 rupees. He has to pay B 50 rupees. He has to pay C 50 rupees. Now the accounting says A has transferred money to B, A has transferred money to C. Now C also has power to create some of his own money because there's no central authority. He has power to create his own money. Now what will happen is, if C is truthful and C is honest and B is truthful and B is honest, both of them will take their 50 rupees and just transfer it ahead, or take their $50 and just transfer it ahead, saying that I spent 25, C says I spent 25. But if C happens to be a malicious character and he says, let me manipulate everything, let me create my own money, what will happen is A sits with a balance of 100, which he transfers to B is 50, C 50. Now C, being a fraudster or a malicious character, generates his own 100 rupees and says, I have 150, and starts spending that money ahead. But what the blockchain will do right now is that it will say that C never had that 100 rupees because the blockchain never recognized that 100 rupees being produced. So the whole books of account, which is in technical term, what I'm saying is a blockchain, will fail in a manner to understand what has gone wrong. Suddenly how the balance has gone up. And then the miners who are there will go back and audit everything and see where the problem is. Just because this happens on a technology, it happens in microseconds. You can catch a transaction that has been fraudulently done in microseconds and you can rectify the blockchain. So what happens, the blockchain breaks down there, and a new blockchain is created where the balances are of all the ledgers are completely in sync with each other. The other part of this blockchain is like you may see on the decentralized ledger part, A, B, C, D, E. All of them have a public ledger where all the transactions are being recorded. So ये जो आपके bank के अंदर, I'm sure most of you in your audit terms might have seen bank books which are there. Bank has practically all the accounts. What you see in the centralized ledger diagram, bank has all the accounts, but B has his own passbook, C has his own passbook, A has his own passbook, and A knows only about his transactions. B knows only about his transactions, C knows only about his transactions. And the bank is the one which knows everything. But in a distributed ledger, what happens is A knows practically all the transactions that the bank knows in the first diagram. Each of the members know all the transactions, even if they are not involved into it. All the nodes, everyone knows, and that's the reason the audit can happen far more faster, is because you suddenly know कि ये चीज कहाँ से हुई, which is currently we are trusting the bank to do it. But in distributed ledger, with the power of technology, it says that everyone should know what is happening. There should be 100% transparency. There should be 100% trustlessness that has to be done, because we have trusted enough institutions in the past, and like I mentioned in my few examples, we have always our trust has been defeated. But in the blockchain and in technology, it is said that let's give the power in your hand. Again, I'm making that phrase again, not just of the money that you hold, but all the transactions that happen in and around the money you hold, where the money is coming to you and where the money is going out. So, you can take those decisions and you can have the power of vote in your hand that can move and decision making can happen much more faster. Yes, with the underlying technology, which is known as blockchain. Again, I'll come back to this because there's another thing which I'll speak about known as consensus, which when I speak about mining, or maybe we have another session about it, because that's a slightly complex issue in terms of understanding. But to make things a little easier, I have a demo blockchain, which I usually present to a lot of my students in my class. Is my screen visible again?
Yes.
Yeah. So just to give you, I mean, you would have heard tens of speakers speaking about what blockchain is, what it happens. Today, for the first time, I'll actually tell you what the blockchain is and how does it look like on the interior. This thing happens at a speed of, in fact, faster than light. And that's the reason most of us don't realize of what has happened. But this is actually what a block and a blockchain looks like. Say A has 100 rupees. Sorry. This is the first block. I'll just give you the structure. The data that you punch in here is this. Now, what is a hash? A hash is a cryptographic number which the blockchain will create on its own. No one can tamper it. No one knows what the next number is. How is it going to come? It's all in the hand of computer. But as far as this hash remains green, your blockchain is completely legal. Genesis block is something which is the first block. At the end, you see a block number which is known as 604. And it has a timestamp which says Tuesday, 17th October 2017 at this time. Now, welcome to blockchain demo 2.0. Say that's 100 rupees. If I have to make another transaction, say I give out 2.0, I just have now welcome to blockchain. This is my data. I put it on the blockchain. Now the blockchain has developed a previous hash. Now, if you see, this is 37CF, which is the previous hash here, 37CF. I'm sure everyone would be able to view it.
Yeah, it is visible.
Yeah, it is the same number. So this is how you connect and create your previous block and, you know, make a chain out of it. Now the block number from 604 has gone to 3062 because there are other transactions that are simultaneously happening. And this block, welcome to blockchain, has been developed as a new hash, which ends with 6C93. Now, if I remove the word blockchain and I just put welcome to and make it a new block, if you see this 6C93, here the previous hash is 6393, and then there is a new hash which has been given. Now, no one can give you how these numbers are generated because it's a system that's generating those numbers. No one has control over it. And that's the reason a lot of people say blockchain can't be hacked. And you see the block numbers are also changing on their own. I mean, no one has control. Apart from the data that you put into the system, no one has any control on what's happening. And the timestamp keeps you in the audit check always. Because, you know, we are speaking about these computers and these blocks being created all across the globe. So the timestamp becomes critically important. It also takes away your time zone. And that's the reason crypto markets do not sleep or do not have an ending time. They are working 24/7, Saturday, Sunday, night 3 o'clock, night 4 o'clock, because the world will follow the same timestamp that has to be followed, which is generated by the blockchain. Now, if I tell you how this happens, as I change anything into this blockchain, you see that everything has just turned into red. That means there has been some malicious character which has changed what was there. And it goes up to exclamation mark. As I put 2.0 and put an exclamation mark, you know, everything just becomes green, which is, yes, that means everything is fine. If, say, block 2 creator was the malicious character, he removes TO. Any chain that will be created now, post this, say, just welcome, all will be turned red. See, it says the previous hash is red. So this is the place where you can catch who was the culprit who did this. And here is a repair block, which is like, this is where the problem is. As I clicked on it, it got corrected. And next repair block got into a problem because, you know, the transfer of information from one block to another block wasn't clear and wasn't up to the mark. And the system couldn't recognize it that it was a true transaction or not. I hope I'm making myself clear. I'm sure there will be confusions, but that's the reason I'll take parts in between before I move next. So, you know, we can address the questions. I mean, whatever questions you have at the end, but remember it part by part. Do not try to conflict your minds again with it कि ये कैसे हो सकता है, like I said. This is something.
Would you prefer that the questions came in as you speak?
So what I'll do is I'll end a section and then I'll take questions relevant to it, and then we'll move on to something, because I do not want to remain. I mean, just like the blockchain, I do not want one block to be remain corrupted of thinking and questioning what's happening. Ki aage ka meko kuch samajh mein nahi aaya. So
yeah, very true. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe the next slide would be the last one in this, because that's basics of blockchain, and then I'll take it further ahead. So this is how a decentralized transaction in the words look like. User creates a transaction. Like if you saw, I created a block from the Genesis block. User broadcasts that transaction to the nodes. Now what happened is when I clicked create block, it broadcasted to everyone. That means on the public ledger, everyone, whether it was A, B, C, D, E, everyone could see that transaction ki A ne B ke saath koi transaction kiya hai, even when they were not involved. Just like your bank sees right now. One of the nodes. So what happens is A and B did a transaction. Now C can come into the game and just approve that transaction. Ki, okay, what A had, he's transferred to B. The transaction has happened. There's a timestamp. There's a hash which has been created. Now that person is known as a miner who validates that transaction. Now how the validation can be truthful? Let's come back to today. When Mr. Vijay Mallya was given a loan by a banker, he had to follow certain rules. He did not follow those rules, and maybe in whatever favors, or maybe I'm not putting any authorities into picture, but whatever his reason could be, he just went on to breaking rules and started giving him maybe a loan which was far ahead of the collateral limit that the bank had decided. Now that person could do it because his loan file that came to him said Mr. Vijay Mallya, and Mr. Vijay Mallya knew that this is the officer who's got my file. Now what happens in a blockchain is once you become a member of your blockchain, and it's very critical, guys, to understand, because you as auditors, as working close to regulators, are going to be faced with this question. Again and again, your clients are going to ask you. What happened is when the transaction was published, I got converted into a 26-letter hash like I showed you in that blockchain. Now, no one in that world can tell me who owns that 26 letters apart from myself, which has a positive and a negative side. The positive side is, first I'll take the negative side. The negative side is you don't know who's doing transaction, and that's how people are hiding their black money, and which is scaring the regulators. Kyunki aapko pata nahi hai, you do not have idea of who that 26 letters is. I mean, there is still codes which are being written about, but you can't. Like, I'm sure most of you might have heard about the creator of Bitcoin, Mr. Satoshi Nakamoto. His Bitcoin, his wallet, the 26-letter wallet where he holds Bitcoin, it still has Bitcoin worth for $500 billion, approximate figure because the price keeps fluctuating, $500 billion. But no one knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is, because everyone knows that it's a 26 hash, which is there, 25 worded, numbered hash, which is there. But no one knows who owns that wallet. That's the negative side, and that's the world is struggling towards it. And a lot of, people who are doing extortion, people who are selling drugs are using this because इसमें आपका KYC है ही. Now let's move on to the positive side of it, for which I am here. Now let's go back to the example of Mr. Vijay Mallya. If Mr. Vijay Mallya's file would have come to an officer's desk with a barcode, he doesn't know whose file it is. And Mr. Vijay Mallya gets a token number or 26 that this token will address your file. He doesn't know who the officer is or who the file will be allocated. And I'm currently speaking about the branch, but what we are speaking now on a global level. Say his file and his transaction with his name not on it was sent to Oman, and someone in Oman was approving his transaction. And Mr. Vijay Mallya doesn't know that his file has gone to Oman. What will happen here is the person who's evaluating will not be able to break rules because he doesn't know. He doesn't know whether he's going to get a favor from him or not. He doesn't know whose file he's approving. He doesn't know anything. On the Mr. Vijay Mallya side, he doesn't know whom he should give the favor. Should he give it to his branch manager? Should he give the national head of the bank? Should he give the global head of the bank? He doesn't know. And in fact, no one in the bank knows who the file has gone to. So that's the positive side of things, is why everyone follows their own rule, is because it is very difficult to trace back people and understand ki ye cheez kahan se kahan ja rahi hai, or where things are moving in terms of money, in terms of information, in terms of anything that is there. And this is a question why regulators are getting very, very uncomfortable with cryptocurrency, because you will never be able to, I mean, even if you have to file taxes, it will have to be on self-disclosure. Currently, the cryptocurrency that I trade in, or, you know, I trade on an exchange known as Binance, which has its server in Malta. It has its server in Malta. When in 2018, the government had a crackdown on it, a lot of exchanges closed down. My assets were never was able to, I mean, the government of India had never been able to discover my assets because everything is in Malta. Unless I go to the government and I say, sir, this is what my asset is, please charge tax to me. And we being into the community, we understand how many of such people are there. I mean, if people were that clear, practically our job, we all would have been jobless in terms of, you know, auditing and, you know, rectifying errors. So this third box is something where the whole world is stuck right now. Moving on to the transaction. What happens is all these nodes validate. They say, ki, haan, iske andar sari cheezein theek lag rahi. All of this looks correct. Let's make a block. Once everything is approved, the block comes onto the blockchain and its information becomes opening balances for the next block. Now nodes put this block onto the blockchain, which is they broadcast it and they say that this is approved. There is a consensus protocol that the other nodes also look at that transaction and say, so you get A and B have done transaction, they put a tick mark in front of their name. C is the validator who's looked at it, A and B, and says, okay, this is all correct. Let's go ahead. Now D, E, F say, okay, A has done this transaction, B has done this transaction, C has approved it. Let's every one of us, if it's fine, let's approve it. Even if one person disapproves to that transaction, it is kept outside the blockchain. And like, but the first question that I've always got on this line is, what happens if C is a malicious character and he says ki nahi, mere ko to masti, I want to have some fun today, mere ko aaj masti karni hai, let me just keep disapproving this, which will take me back to the block tree. Why will he do that? Because he doesn't know the transaction has been done between A and B. He doesn't know that C has approved it. He just knows that 16 letter, which is a representative of A, which the approver doesn't know. One 16 letter has transacted with other 16 letter, and there's a third 16 letter which is approved it. So what's my, I mean, I have no information of how that transaction has happened. So where is my problem in, you know, creating a problem for the blockchain? And, you know, if it's not approved in a certain time, your approval right just moves ahead to someone else and you lose. So the money that you gain out of that approving the transaction is a Bitcoin. You lose your chance to earn that Bitcoin. So, you know, the way, why this technology is so fascinating, it has practically covered all the gamuts where, you know, leakages could have happened. And it's still developing. The reason you have so many coins coming in, because each one is an improvement on another. And last, once the block is reflected in its truth chain, it is chained to the blockchain. That is, your audit is done, your income tax returns are filed, your authorities have created a zero tax liability, your assessment has been complete. Now that becomes your final accounts for this year, which will become opening balances of your final account next year if I put it into layman chartered accountancy terminologies. Unless you have a tax authority, you have, you know, your inventory books are not clear, you can't create next year account because you won't have opening balances there. This is exactly what happens on blockchain, just in a cryptographic manner, just in the way, in the hands of technology. That's the reason the speed is fast. This is, some more qualities of what DLT is. You can have it on no basis, or you do not have to trust anyone. You have to create value to the asset. You can have a smart contract. You can create ownership. You can create transfer of value. A smart contract is something where, the contract, you just have created a program where you have put a due date. Aapne aapki loan ki due date dali. If the EMI is not hit on that date, the asset is sold directly. I mean, there is no DRT, there is no axe, there is no banker who can, give you condonement of your not EMI hitting. If it doesn't hit on that date at that time, the system doesn't understand that any reason for your fault, and it will directly take and sell the asset. That's what is a smart contract. It can be used to record transfer of value, ownership. Remember, what Dubai is trying to do is creating all its land records onto blockchain just to do this. If blockchain wouldn't have been there, imagine a country like India, vaccination would have been so difficult. You don't know the jab that you are getting right now is actually, 100% of the vaccination that is there. Whether it's filled with water and punched into your body, you don't know. You don't know how many people, because all of this is put on blockchain. When we get our certificates of approval, it also mentions the blockchain that the vaccination has been part of. And I'm sure you guys are in a more advanced country where, things are much more clearer and much more transparent than what things were in India. And the last thing, which is again very important, which a few municipalities in Switzerland have been able to do, is get your voting done on blockchain. In India, we take 3 months to, set up the election commission. Election commission has to go check with every district, get ballot. It takes close to 3.5 months to conduct our national elections. In blockchain, this could be done in 15 minutes. And that's what some regions of Switzerland have already tried to do. You may speak about the magnitude, but it's just on your phone with your own wallet, which can't be tampered. You just press the party you want to do it. The counting happens immediately, and within 15 minutes, the Prime Minister will be selected. This is the speed that we are speaking about. 15 minutes to 3 months. And everything just being audited because it's on blockchain. No one can create fuzzy blockchain or create something like that. So if your election cards come onto a blockchain and they give you a private key, which is practically like your PIN number, you just put in that PIN number, cast your vote, that's it, it's done. By evening, you'll have, within 15 minutes of everyone voting, you'll have the results in hand, because the computer will start counting on its own. There's no physical counting that is going to happen. Yes, the precise thing, everyone needs to be connected on internet. And yes, I mean, a lot of the people need to be educated about this technology. It's not going to happen that everyone is just going to understand what's happening. So that's the first part of the presentation. If you have understood this well, the next 2 parts are just going to fly away within like 15 minutes. So that's the reason I would want to halt here. If you have any questions, even if it is basic, please guys don't take it ki are ye bahut basic question hai, main puchu nahi puchu. Just go ahead and ask it, because we all are learning. I'm going to take much more learning from you than what I'm going to give here today.
Nilesh, there are certain questions in the Q&A. So sure, if you want to just take those questions.
Sure.
So why price of Bitcoin, Mr. Mukesh Darji has asked, why price of Bitcoin blockchain going up in this manner, even though it is just a medium of exchange like currency and no other intrinsic value as such? How to trace the transactions for the regulator for tax and other purpose?
So I'll take the second part first. Mukesh ji, a question which every one of us has. The regulators are also trying to understand that of how do we regulate something which is anonymous. So that's where the whole regulation is still stuck. Like you, even I do not have an answer for it. I have been working with the US government. I've been on their panel. I was on the consulting paper with the finance minister of India here. but that's what it is. We do not have an answer to how do you do it, and no one has an answer. And that's the reason. I mean, for us regulators, this is the best thing, to create a rule every time there's something there. I mean, that's our job. We love to create rules, even if they are unnecessary. So for 10 years, if the rule hasn't been created, that means someone doesn't have an answer to something. And the second part of it is, sir, understand, like I said, and I'll come in my presentation on later. Cryptocurrency has various uses. Bitcoin is very different from what an Ethereum is. Ethereum is very different from any cryptocurrency that you say. Blockchain is a medium of exchange, but the money that has been put on the blockchain is something that has its value. And it's a pure play demand and supply equilibrium. There is no one controlling ki iske upar itna cap hona chahiye, nahi. The technology controls it. Like there are 21 million Bitcoin. That's it. The technology was created only for that. And that's the reason it is said as gold. Now, if you want to transact on a exchange, like Bitcoin is a wrong example. I'll tell you why, because it has its limitation. If you go on a Ethereum, and if you want to do a transaction on Ethereum's blockchain, you will have to use Ethereum only. You can't use non-fungibility is something which is a problem. You can't use a Bitcoin on Ethereum's this thing. And each blockchain, whether it's a Bitcoin's blockchain, it's a Ethereum's blockchain, it's a Tron's blockchain. There's now new projects coming in, Solano, Shiba Inu, Dogecoin. Each of them have a very, very separate kind. It's just as simple as this. I'll put it again in terms. You go to a shopping mall, a Shoppers Stop or a Walmart. They give you certain points, or you get certain points from certain banks. You will not be able to use Walmart points in Costco or in Carrefour. That's non-fungibility. So if you are holding a Bitcoin, you can't use that Bitcoin on Ethereum. And just because every one of this is available in certain amount of scarcity, they are all, de-inflationary in their own senses. That's the reason their price keeps going up, because everyone wants to trade and transact on a Bitcoin. Say tomorrow, Indian government comes up with its the election platform that I was speaking about. If I have to vote in India, even if you are sitting in Oman or Muscat, you being an Indian citizen, you want to be a part of it. You will buy that right from me, and I will charge you the money for that right. Now, you will pay the amount. How useful do you feel it is for you? What's happening with the medical thing? Like, there were so many people who were okay to pay even for the vaccination. Way beyond than what, it was available. In India, you might have seen it was a chaos. Remdesivir, which was, 6,000 rupees, suddenly people paying 2 lakh rupees for it. It was a complete chaos. It's just because of this, because when things are available in scarce, basic economics, the price of it will continuously go up as more and people want to use it. And that's what is happening with blockchain. Everyone wants to be a part of Bitcoin, even if it is for $100, even if it is for $10. Everyone just wants to be a part of it. And that's the reason the demand of it is going up, which is just taking away the price. And ultimately, it's the price equilibrium that works. If I'm okay to sell my Bitcoin at 80,000 rupees or $80,000 and someone is ready to buy it, the transaction will happen. The price equilibrium will show you 80,000. It's the market mechanism that is there. So blockchain is a medium for exchange. There are 12,000 coins as of now. By the time we end the seminar, there will be 13,000 coins. But each coin has its own variants. There's a project known as VeChain in China, which is only working with the diagnostic and the pharma company to trace, bad medicines or, black market of medicines. A lot of fashion industry is now moving on to blockchain because, everyone, if you've been to Dubai, you've been to Mina Bazaar. The price of the same looking LV bag in Dubai Mall is 20,000 dirhams, and you get it at like 200 dirhams in Mina Bazaar. Is because it looks the same, but it's the first copy, second copy, third copy. So how does LV protect it? LV will put its purse on the blockchain where you can actually recognize it by a scan or barcode ki boss ye LV se hi aaya hai. And when you apply it to I mean, this is luxury. When you apply it to medicine, think you buy a medicine and suddenly you realize that medicine doesn't work because it was faultily created. Think of taxation for the manner. You don't have to sit and hunt down people. In India, we have what, 3.5% people who pay taxes for a country of 1.3 billion, which is, you know, for a salaried person, it's criminal. But yes, blockchain has an answer to it. So sure. If I have to be a part of it, I have to have that coin, and that's the reason the prices keep going up.
Okay, thank you, Nilesh. And the next question is from Mr. Kamal Ashraf. Even the hash code which are generated must have been written with a logic, and it may be uncoded, if not today, but in future for sure.
So again, a good question, and a lot of coders are working on it. So what happens is currently where everyone has reached is people continuously keep on mapping the code, and they realize where is this coming from or where it is going. But even if a logic has been put, it's like a lottery. You know that these numbers can come out from it, but which number will come out at when, at what time, in which part of the world? I mean, the permutation and combination can go into millions of combinations. So I'm not saying that as far as humans are involved with machines, we are going to find loopholes in everything. But at least what I see from here is we are better than what we were in the past. So I'm not saying that this can't be defeated. I'm sure this will be defeated someday. But at least with what developments that I see on the ground, at least we are secured for a couple of centuries with it.
Sure. On the similar lines, there is a question from Lakshmi Rajan. How do we ensure that the creator of blockchain software has done with good intention? Who can certify while giving license for blockchain? And the similar, again, can black money be regular? Black money, I don't know what she's. Can black money be regularized through blockchain, or the regulator can still control the? So that question is not control the black money. Yeah.
I think I got it. So that's the reason, ma'am. There is something known as the USDC, which is coming into the game, which is government-owned cryptocurrency, which India is also speaking about. Even if you don't know the person who's there, the ecosystem will be in the hand of government. They'll know which wallet owns money, whether that person owns that money or not. Now understand it, how beautiful it is. All of the money that is there in India on that blockchain, the government knows. What is black money is the cash money that stays behind, or, you know, without an ownership, stays in some account, which no one knows about it. But when the whole system, whole money, every citizen knows who owns what money. And if you just put a small code of, you know, taxing it, say 5% tax on every wallet, you will be having so much of money into the treasury. I'm not saying regulate the person who has the money or doesn't have the money. The regulation can be built in such that, say, it's A, B, C, D, E. A owns 100 rupees. B owns 200 rupees, C owns 1000 rupees, D owns 10,000 rupees. What the government has to do is put a standard tax of, say, 2% only on all the wallets that own money. You know, you come at an equilibrium. The 100 rupee guy will pay 2 rupees. The 200 rupee guy will pay 4 rupees. 1000 rupee guy will pay 20 rupees. So your black money, in fact, will disappear. Now the problem where the government is, and what I spoke, if I have not misunderstood, if I was not misunderstood by you, government is stuck is, government is still trying to figure out that whose wallet it is. Because that is again a social thing, because we want to protect certain aspects of the society. India's diversity gives you all the answers. There are certain people like farmers, which you can't do it, which you can't tax under Section 10(1). There are, you know, certain businesses which you can't transact, which you can't tax them. Now the problem is, I'll get to the other part of economics, which is known as vote bank politics. अगर मैम ये सब पे अगर आप सबको टैक्स लगा दोगे तो आप वोट बैंक लड़ोगे किस पे? So that's, I mean, the government can find answers to it, but they have to protect their own rights, own powers. You know, suddenly you speak about the Prime Minister of India is a simple common man as you are. It's a very big statement in terms of power tussle. I mean, he has the same rights as you are. It will become very, very difficult. And that's what the world is, making it very difficult to fathom what happens if this becomes. Everyone just becomes same. America compared to India is all same. I mean, these are power tussles and politics no one of us has answers for. And that's the reasons the regulators are trying to protect that thing as well as trying to implement this. Because suddenly you see Ethereum's founder, Mr. Vitalik Buterin, he sits 36th on the Forbes list. He's a 23-year-old guy. I'm consulting a project in Goa. If you speak about that person, Mr. Gajesh Nayak, last year in his because of pandemic, the schools were closed. He created an NFT platform which is now worth of 150 crore rupees. He has it in the bank account. 13-year-old guy. The riches and the powerful people do not want this to happen. And that's the reason the questions that are being asked are tough.
Sure. So there are a lot to know in this area, basically. Yeah. So the one last question, Deepak Chitnis ji is asking, does price of cryptocurrency have any connection with transactions on the dark web?
Not really. Because this is the underlying asset to cryptocurrency is only the price discovery that happens on exchanges. Where the buyer, so this comes to your fair market value definition, which is laid by IFRS, where a buyer is ready to buy and a seller is ready to sell. Yes, there can be demand generation on dark web, but slowly, cryptocurrency, at least in my 7 years of experience, has moved from black hands to white hands, as I call it. There are far more intelligent people and far more better benefits that are being used right now, but the transaction doesn't have the price. Yes, transaction will have an impact on the price if the counterparty is asking you to do a transaction only on certain cryptocurrency, which you might not have, and if you want to do that transaction, you will buy it at any cost. So it doesn't work like how the US dollar price discovery happens or our Indian rupee price discovery happens. The price discovery here is 100% into the hands of people. The demand and the supply, and that's it. There is no central authority who can decide what price I pay for something unless I want to pay for it.
Mr. Nilesh, you want to take more questions, or should we move ahead and take
Maybe we can take one, because then I
have two questions. One is from Mr. Sandeep Kunte. How the intrinsic value of the currency is determined, and how the exchange rate between two types of cryptocurrencies be determined?
Exchange rate answer I just gave. It's pure economics, price equilibrium. If I and Digenji wants to buy a Bitcoin, I look at his desperation and I can tell, sir, I'll sell you at maybe $1 million. If he wants to buy it, he'll buy it. If he doesn't want to buy it, he goes to another buyer. Just that we are going back to the basics, sir. It's just that the speed of the technology is so fast. It's just, that's the reason most of the people can't fathom it. आप टमाटर खरीद रहे हो सर, वैसा ही है ये. If a tomato, you don't like the price the vendor is selling you, you go to another vendor, you buy that price, and suddenly the price discovery happens. Boss, this is the price the last transaction happened. So that's how it is. In terms of intrinsic value, again, a good question. There are various aspects of it. You can't put it on Excel. Let me get it clear. So if you are trying to look at a formula of a DCF or a real return, it's not happening. So that's again taking you out of your CA books. It happens on two things. One, the scarcity that the cryptocurrency is creating, and second is the demand, which is again coming back to the basics of economics, is if something is scarce, like gold in itself does not have an intrinsic value. It's just that it's scarce. That's what it's taking away its prices. Same thing is happening with diamonds. Same thing is happening with cryptocurrency. Just because everyone wants to take advantage of something and it's available in scarce, and that's the reason the intrinsic value of it is coming out into the picture. But if you're asking for an Excel formula, I do not have it, sir. And at least for next 50 years, I'm sure there is not going to be anything around it.
Okay, one last question from Pamela D. Can anyone create a blockchain account? If so, how?
It's very simple. If you have traded a cryptocurrency, you have a blockchain account. So you are practically, so if you go to an exchange and you buy a Ethereum or a Bitcoin, you have a Bitcoin account. But if you are speaking about becoming a node or a, someone who can approve transactions, I guess her answer was to become one of those A, B, C, D, and E. There are tens. I'm not saying these are computer or supercomputers. There are hundreds and millions of computer power that gets to use this thing, and you just have to go to blockchain.com and download the whole blockchain. So understand the nitty-gritty of it. To download the whole blockchain, you'll have to download transactions from way back in 2010 when the first coin was transacted. That will give you the power to approve further transactions. So your computer system has to be so fast that it processes that 10 years of data of every transaction that has happened for you to become the next block miner. So tomorrow you can also become one. But for that, you'll have, I mean, if I show you some pictures on the net, or if you go and search how mining dens are, you'll see these are like hundreds and millions of computers, and they take away practically the grid energy. I mean, we have seen cases in Dehradun and all, because India has still not integrated its to cryptocurrency mining. Dehradun did not have 2 days of light because 5 college students wanted to mine a Bitcoin. So we are speaking about this amount of energy. So ma'am, if you want to do that, I'm sure your bills are going to come in millions.
So we can move on to the next session, and then probably we'll take the few other questions. Yeah.
So now coming on to hope my screen is visible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming on to the main topic of what DeFi is. DeFi is what all we spoke about. Now, just in terms of money, there is no other thing being done on it. All your finance will move on to blockchain. Now, the 3 major components to it is, first, the smart contract, which I spoke to you about. If I and Digenji have got into a contract, आज के लिए वो stamp paper पे आप sign करते हैं, and we believe that the government will enforce it in case of any liability that comes out of that contract, and for which you pay government the fees. What smart contract does is, I and BNG will get into a smart contract. Say I borrow $50,000 from him. He says that I have given Nilesh $50,000. I say I have received $50,000 from BNG at this time and this place, and I say I'll return on, say, 31st of December before 12 a.m. At 11:59, the smart contract, and I put an underlying asset to it saying that this is the security for it. I mean, whatever terms I want to put in the contract, I can put in. And I say, sir, my house is a security to this. What blockchain will do is, he'll create my house onto the blockchain as a token of the same amount. It will transfer the rights onto that token, saying that the transfer will happen. At 11:59, if I and DNG both don't confirm that the transaction has happened or the contract has been closed, the contract itself will transfer those tokens from my account to DNG's account. And that's the reason you need cryptocurrency. Because मेरा घर पूरा का पूरा transfer नहीं हो जाएगा, computer नहीं कर पाएगा. But when I say about that token says that I give the right to DNG if I don't put this much of money in his account on 31st of December at 11:59, please transfer my rights of my house to him, which become legally, he becomes the owner of my house. It doesn't count that I call him up, ki sir, mere ko 10 din aur de. It doesn't happen, sir, mere ko 15 din aur de. Or sir, this is not the interest which I asked for. Or let's go to the court. I have turned malicious. I say, mere ko nahi dena aapka paisa. So again, bringing to perspective, what we are speaking about is lawyers are going to go out of job. And that's the reason you do not have a resolution. It is an event outlined, the contract that triggers that event. Just like a contract act says that there has to be event that has to trigger the contract become enforceable. It's the same thing that happens just electronically, and there is no third party to listen to you. अच्छा ठीक है, आपकी हालत खराब है, मैं आपको 15 दिन का extension दे देता हूँ. नहीं. Once a contract is written, the computer doesn't understand human emotions. It will execute the contract there and there. And regulators, now this is where regulators can come in. Regulators can watch this transaction happen. So as the money gets transferred from my account to Digenji's account, even if it is Digenji's black money, the regulator has a watch on it because it is moved on the blockchain. The regulator can have a look at it. You know, the fees which they charge can be debited as the transaction has happened, which could be a stamp duty, which could be or anything. So that's the first component. Without smart contracts, we are speaking about a world, I mean, cryptocurrency then just is worthless. And this is the major difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ethereum allows you to create smart contract on itself. Bitcoin has a ready structure. It's like a future which is being traded on exchange. It's standardized. You can only do certain things with Bitcoin. But with Ethereum, you know, I can create the kind of contract I want to, whether I want it for real estate, whether I want it for taxation, whether I want it for, you know, your medicine, your vaccination, anything. And that's the reason Bitcoin can be considered as a gold standard, but Ethereum is where major development keeps on happening. And now when Ethereum also had problems because suddenly, you know, games, everything, it led to a lot of congestion on Ethereum, which created other coins which are similar to it, which I'll come ahead of. Those are known as platform coins or the blockchain coins. So this is the complete DeFi layer. If I give you this chart, it has all the components of finance. So if we go from the bottom, Bitcoin, which is store of value, which is your gold. First layer is security and composability. So then there came up other projects like Ethereum, interportability. How do you move things around? There came in your Ethereum, your WBC, which is wrapped Bitcoin, your Cosmos, your Polkadot. These are all coins you might be hearing. If you go on Twitter, you'll see these coins are trading at different prices. Some prices go up, some prices go down. But this is how the chart shows you that each of them has a very, very different connotation. Each of them has a very, very different use case. Then you have privacy. Someone felt that Ethereum wasn't enough private. So they created Chainlink, they created Beyond Protocol, they created Band Protocol. Then there are oracles. Now Oracle is something which is, you know, something that executes that contract. It's known as Oracle. So there came in a coin named Enigma. Has things moved? So the core infrastructure is the first three lines, which, you know, define the world and rules of finance onto blockchain. Then you came to core finance and stability. Now, what are core finance and stability? It's the institutions, your banks, your exchanges, your lending authorities, your NBFCs. These are known as core finance and stability structures, your insurances, your derivatives, your you know, currency minters, all of this. Now, if you see on the right-hand side, it says lending and saving, which are synthetic coins, DY by DX, Vega. No, sorry. Lending and saving is Compound, Aave, New, Maker. If you have dealt in cryptocurrencies, these coins have minted money last year like anything. But what do these coins do? These coins do. If I take you onto a Compound website, one second, I'll show you live. One second, my screen would have stopped because I'm putting in my password. If you go to compound.finance, it launches its apps. There is a wallet which is known as MetaMask, which is connected to my computer. If you see, there's a logo here of a fox, which stores all my money. If I forget that password, I'm gone. My all money is locked. There's no customer care. There's nothing. Now you see, I have entered my account. This is my wallet address. My wallet address. I do not have any compound coins here. The current price of a compound coin is. So sir, whoever had asked me that question, if I have to transact anything on compound, I need a compound coin. I can't do it with Ethereum. I can't do it with a block, with a Bitcoin. So I go to a compound. I go here. If I have to, this is supply markets. This means people are ready to lend this. Borrow markets are people are ready to borrow this. And this is the APY, the interest that you get when a borrower borrows from you. And in some cases, you know, the percentage of interest are even close to 100% depending on the demand and supply that comes in. So it's not only trading money that you make, there's a lot of passive money also that comes into the game. And so this is where as a customer, I can do a transaction. So compound, take it as a bank. You're saving money, which is in your wallet. You can go and lend it to a borrower directly, and a borrower will directly take it from you. It does not need a central bank in between or a bank in between. You know where the money is going to because the wallet address will come in. So if I put this as, say, collateral, it will ask me your borrow limit and it will tell me your borrow this thing. And if I say I want to put Aave as, I have Aave token in my wallet, I want to lend it. It allows me to put that money and how much are you borrowing, and it gives me a 80% limit, which is your what we call this as LTV, loan to value kind of figure. This is there, and then there is voting. If you remember, we spoke about something that your right is in your hand and you can decide of what rules has to be followed. If I had compound tokens, I was eligible to vote for a proposal. So if I do manual voting, it checks my wallet. It will tell me that you do not have enough compound, so you will not be able to do a transaction. If I had compound, it would have shown me all the proposals that would have been here. So I'll show you some more. Give me a minute. Cream Finance is very similar to what we saw as compound. It also helps you lend and different rates, different assets, and that's the reason there are different this thing. I won't be able to access it. But if I go and check the proposal of Cream Finance, it won't give me access. So what proposal happens is basically, if I try and explain you, proposal is something where you can say that I want this coin to be listed on your platform. You put a proposal. If you find 51% of the votes coming to you, the coin gets listed on that platform. Or if you say that the LTV of Ethereum that we saw at 80%, if you say that 80% is incorrect, you float a proposal as a shareholder. In layman terms, if you are a coin holder, you are equivalent to a shareholder. You float that proposal. Other people say Digen ji, Ravi ji, Sangeet, Shilpa ji, if you also own compound coins, you are equally responsible for that platform. You will put a vote saying that what Nilesh is saying is right or is saying wrong. If you give me 51% vote, it becomes a authority. There's no opposition. There's no minority shareholder, nothing. 51% is a written rule of that platform, and no one owns that platform. There's no company owning that. There's a company which is known as a group of node holders, which are responsible to take care of development and things around. But the decision happens by the software itself. The price discovery happens by the software. There's no one who can go and change it every. If the change happens, there's known as a DDoS attack, which is a double, where you try to grab in the majority, but apart from it, it cannot happen. Your bank is a computer, जो भाषा नहीं समझता है, उसको जैसा सिखा दिया है वो वैसे ट्रांजैक्ट करते जाएगा. And that's the reason we are saying that it is going to be a disruptor, because remember what we are speaking about. You do not need banks, you do not need courts, you do not need lawyers, and sorry to say, you do not need audits. What we are speaking, सही बात है ना, कल अपने रोटी पे आएगी तो why will we allow something like this? बोले कल 5 साल 6 साल 10 साल, मेरे तो 12 लग गए थे सीए करते करते, तो फिर भी नहीं हुई. So why would we want to risk our livelihoods in terms of this? And that's the reason I said, let me give you live examples, because PPTs can be run up by hundreds of people, but till the time you don't see the power in your hands. I went to Dubai last year at Gulf Food. This was the first time I never took a single exchange in my hand. I had my Ethereum with me in my wallet. I went to an exchange in UAE. I opened my wallet. I sold it. I have a card which I put in the ATM machine, and I got the money at that price there and there itself. No maker fee, no checker fee, no price difference even at the time of taking the money. Nothing. Everything was on my card. Your foreign exchange is gone. You speak about LC, 30 days to approve an LC. 30 seconds, your LC is approved, your money is transferred, everything happens. So what we are speaking about, just making everyone go out of job. That's the reason certain of the things will gradually happen. You can't say, kal aap bolo courts ki zarurat nahi hai. We have such a big lawyer community. What will happen? You can't, it's difficult for people to fathom ki a software will decide how your logics are going to work. So moving on to next, stable coins, DEXs. DEXs is decentralized exchange. I'll give you an example of that as well. Then you have payment system, which is known as an insurance system, which is already come in. Nexus Mutual, just go to their insurance. They insure your cryptocurrencies. Although it has a very wavered right now because of the price fluctuation that comes in, but there is an insurance. So if you want to audit a project, one of the questions which was there is how do you see that it's correct? There's an audit firm known as PeckShield, which is not accounting audit, but it's your smart contract audit. It goes and gives you a verification saying that the smart contract has been audited or it's functioning perfectly. So you can be approved of that. PwC is trying to do with their blockchain team, at least in Japan, I know certain partners who have started auditing smart contracts, but it's again not financial audit, it's technical audit where they go code by code and see whatever you have coded is correct or not. So like I said, it's not that every one of us will run out of job. Maybe we'll have to acquire different skill sets and work on different things. Then you have wallets, browsers. If you remember this wolf symbol, this was my wallet, MetaMask, currently being used across the globe very widely because it's a Ethereum wallet. There are other blockchains and their own wallets. Staking as an infrastructure, staking is a thing which is known as, like I showed you, lending. There are a lot of complexities into crypto world just because there's no central authority. There's something known as staking, which is there where I put my asset and say, please use it till the time I want it, and I get interest against it. And that's the reason, like if you go today and check staking prices for a Shibu Anu, which has been rising for the past week, it's already up 1000%, close to 1000%. That coin currently is giving me a 55% interest for lending my token. So if I put in, say, $100 worth of token, my interest on a 15-day basis is 55%. The money that we speak about multiplying is just happening at the speed of it. And then you have legacy finance, bridges and facilitator. These are companies which are trying to connect the old world to the new world, just trying to bring everything on token. So the Dubai coin is also a facilitator where, you know, your properties will become on a coin. So that when I have to sell my asset to Digenji in my example, you know, that coin transaction will happen and the government will know about it. And nor I nor Digenji can conflict it that that transaction has not happened because it's on a blockchain. So just to give you an example, because if you go back to a lot of people, they'll ask you what a decentralized exchange is, and I'll again give you an example, because bank aapko dikha di compound mein ki I can lend to anyone directly whom I want to at the interest rate which is price discovered between both of us. Now I'll show you the exchange of how a decentralized exchange looks like. One thing, this is a public ledger of a blockchain. The public ledger that we spoke about, everyone knows what transaction is happening, what is the price, what is the transaction number, how many has been approved, how many people are currently validating it, and this is global transactions. What is the price currently growing on of this asset, and how much is the global demand and supply that is happening, what is the transaction. This says 61.7 TPS, transactions per second. This is for Binance Coin, which is BNB. But if I take you to another, this thing, this is Polkadot. If you remember that figure of 61, which we spoke about, 61 transactions per second, that was on Binance chain. If you look at Ethereum, which is currently the most crowded chain, it has only 14.4 transactions per second. So that's the reason, if one of the participants who had asked is why are there different coins and what is the difference? Ethereum was built in 2015, Binance was built in 2017. Ethereum currently has the most number of transactions happening on it. That's why it's world's second largest currency, cryptocurrency, but it has its limitation that it can do only 14 transactions per second. If I have to do a transaction much faster, what do I do? So I go to a Binance chain, take a BNB coin and do a transaction, because currently I can't do Ethereum. Ethereum is blocked. There are other things which are known as Polkadot, which have 120, 130 kind of a figure. So every new development that we are speaking about is just making something better of the other. And that's the reason their coin prices go up, because the intrinsic value that was spoken about is, in this case, is the speed. Maybe this takes me like 10 minutes to do a transaction. On Binance Coin, I might be able to do it in 2 seconds. So now everyone is just fighting for the speed that can come in. And because of this, what happens, for people to understand speed ka itna matter kyun hai, there's something known as the fees. Every miner that mines takes certain amount of fees with him for the mining. This fees is currently 87. If you look at throughout the day, the fees also keeps on changing depending on how much the congestion is. So if you are trying to do a $50 transaction, it might sometimes cost you $150 as the fees only. So it doesn't make you viable to do that transaction on that chain. And that's why you move to a new chain. To move to a new chain, you need a new coin.
I was just wanting to know, so in like right now, how you prefer Ethereum. In a few years' time, nobody would want to touch Ethereum because of its current speed.
Ma'am,
what would happen?
That phase actually happened 2 years back when Ethereum congestion went into days. You parked your transaction, but you couldn't find that miner, because there are limited number of miners or approvers. You didn't have enough approvers and the fees went up. Like I did a transaction when I went to Dubai, when I took my Ethereum and converted it to rupee for around, I think so, 2000 dirham or something. I paid a fees of like $30, which the bank was much better. So that's the reason the innovation keeps on coming up. And as the congestion goes on solving, because Ethereum, what happened in 2017, when suddenly everyone got acquainted, Ethereum allowed a lot of games also to come on its blockchain. If you have heard of CryptoKitties or something, people were playing Candy Crush on cryptocurrency. So your financial transactions got stuck because Ethereum doesn't understand whether it's a game transaction or whether it's a casino transaction or whether it's a genuine financial transaction. So then led to a discovery of side chains. Side chains was the gaming transactions were separated from the mainstream transactions. And other projects said that this is faulty. So that's why I'm saying it's so nascent. By the time we end this presentation, we might be sitting in a very different world. All of this could be redundant. It's just because everyone is trying to find the answer. As you get hit by a problem, you find. I am currently working with a project. I recently invested into a project known as Safle. Now what Safle does is it creates your online identity. It's like your online identity card, which can be, you can look at it from all around the world. So if you come to Nilesh Maurya, which can change gig economy like anything. If you want to go and search Nilesh Maurya, my identity, which is like my Aadhaar card or a security number, will have all my past job experiences, will have all my digital footprints, which they call it. So for you to verify my information is just click. But to verify it, you will have to use the Safle coin. So once the coin will be launched in the market, its prices will go up, and people whoever wants to verify that transaction, or if I come to you as a person who wants to take up a job, for full time, ye mere office mein aake baithega, iski pagar mein rok sakta. But in gig economy where you have to pay advance, how do you verify that person's information? So that's called digital identity, which is superior. But it's on a blockchain, so I can't delete. Mera job gap hai, to job gap. If I was on a 1 year unemployed, I'm unemployed. I can't mend my CV just to please you. And you also as an employer know that this person has this limitation and this problem. I'll run pretty quick because then we'll take up further questions. So this is how the layer is right now. It's been created. Practically everything that you have in real world, in finance world, is there on blockchain. Certain projects are just improving over and above this thing. This is how the layer is. On Ethereum, there is something which is compound, is a separate coin, but the blockchain it uses is Ethereum. So practically, even the compound transactions that happen go on Ethereum blockchain, only that it is branded as compound. Over that, you have all these exchanges. Uniswap is an exchange, Genesis is an exchange, Synthetic is an exchange, Kyber Network is an exchange. And then you have a layer 4, which is liquidity. Liquidity is basically where people start lending their money into the game. And the services are acquired by the people who are acquired. So in futures and options, you have something where you get a limit of 5x, 10x. In cryptocurrency, there's a product which is known as perpetual, where you can even take up liquidity of 100x, which is far, far more dangerous. If you remember Warren Buffett saying that derivatives are dangerous, what we are speaking about is nuclear bombs. Currently, blockchain to reality, the 3 best use cases that have come in right now, which I have already touched. Borrowing and lending, this is a compound symbol. There's already a decentralized exchange. Not one, there are many decentralized exchanges right now, where the buyer and seller come onto the platform and buy and sell without paying any brokerage, without following any rules. The rules as in, you can go and list yourself on an exchange today. If you have made a coin, you do not have to follow the SEBI guidelines. You do not have to follow the SEC guidelines, nothing. And the third is stablecoin. Stablecoin is basically like what I mentioned about the government coin. Stablecoin currently, majority of them are USD. I mean, the underlying asset is USD. And this is one coin which, there are several stable coins as well. But this is one thing where, a lot of traders take up position when cryptocurrencies are falling. If you have bought a Bitcoin at say $40,000, you see that it has come to $38,000. For you to convert back to fiat will take a charge. Fiat means your normal currency. But so what people do is they sell Bitcoin and buy a USDT. So practically you have a digitized version of USDT. The only difference of this and a government issue coin is this is currently being created by a private company. What they have done is they have like $10 million in their bank account, which is being audited. A lot of these companies do their proper audits in fact, they do daily audits. And they issue a digital coin in front of that deposit which they have in bank. So it's like a government coin, but not issued by a government, but its value is derived from what is the USD value at that time. And Switzerland has its own coin, Singapore dollar has its own coin. So you can actually come and hide yourself into, a digital coin, but its value is equivalent to the rupee or the paper currency that you hold. So these are the three most, the closest things that are already happening in the market. The reason last year cryptocurrencies went up was because of these three components, which actually showed the world that there is a use case to blockchain. Till the time, blockchain was fighting a battle because no one knew what the use case was. But this actually gave them a use case of what the use case is and how does it work. Next is the non-fungible token. Non-fungible tokens are basically, again, simple tokens, but they help you dilute your intangible assets or monetize your intangible assets. Say Louvre Museum has Mona Lisa there. Now, how can Louvre Museum, if Louvre Museum requires liquidity for other assets which it wants to buy and bring its museum, what it will do is it will make NFTs of Mona Lisa and sell it out like mutual fund token. This is exactly like if you are aware of how REITs work. If I have a house, I break them into units and people can invest small amount into it. NFT is similar, but this is happening for all the assets that are currently intangible, your brand equities. आपको उसके आपके balance sheet में asset में दिखा के करोगे क्या? It's not money. So how do you make money out of it? You make an NFT out of it, you break it and you sell it across. One second, I'll again show an example to it. This was a recent painting that was sold in the US, and not to one person, but to many people together. This is one painting that was sold. Each piece of that painting is different from other. And just because it's on blockchain, you can claim the ownership of this piece, that it's a genuine piece. So tomorrow, if there's a Hussein or there's a Da Vinci, the painting can go in millions. One person might not be able to invest it, or it will remain in the hands of you. If I want to make an investment into it, I make the investment through this. And so this is what NFT is. NFT in itself is a separate subject. I take a 2-hour session on that alone. But I would run through it in the essence of time that we have in it. This is how Mona Lisa looks like, and this is how Mona Lisa's NFT would look like. NFT is non-fungible token, which says that each token that you hold is very different from others. And slowly the world is recognizing. If you follow football, Lionel Messi recently moved out of Barcelona to PSG. In his contract, he has taken certain amount of money in your euro terms, and he's asked for certain NFTs, which are, practically could go up. So how does investment look like? This is a very simple chart. Your saving is the safest out of it, and crypto is currently the most dangerous because there's so much of fluctuation that happens. And second is it's a 24/7 into game. You sleep and you might wake up either super rich or you might wake up as a pauper. In securities, in gold, you need certain amount of money. In crypto, you don't need to buy one coin. You can buy decimals of coin as well because everything is on a blockchain. So your minimum investment can be $10, even it can be $1. in India, currently our exchanges here are selling, आपको 100 रुपए का Bitcoin दे देंगे. 100 रुपए का Bitcoin is your thumbnail का भी minute particle. I mean, you will never become rich with 100 रुपए का Bitcoin, but that's the divisibility that we can use at. Again, when you invest in a coin, it's similar to how you invest into a stock. You have quantitative analysis, you have qualitative analysis. Again, आप इसको एक्सेल पे नहीं ला सकते हो, आप इसको खाली एक कंपैरेटिव एनालिसिस करते हो कि ये इसके कंपैरिजन में कितना अच्छा लगता है. Each of the project that comes upon releases a white paper and roadmap. Now, what a white paper is actually a prospectus where it speaks about everything that is going to do. And the founders, if you know an app called Telegram, which is like WhatsApp, founders are there on those apps. You can directly speak to a founder. For me, I can't go to Mr. Mukesh Ambani or I can't go to anyone who's very rich and ask him question directly unless I'm a shareholder or unless I'm an institutional investor. He may choose not to answer. But and I have examples which I might share sometime later because those go a little deep, where the community did not get an answer for a particular project. And you saw the price fall down nearly 80%. That's the speed of information that people are processing in crypto world. That's the kind of speed, because no one has time to go over files and files, and each white paper is only from 20 to 25 pages. It's not a heavy booklet that investment bankers like me print to sell my client, because I want to hide a lot of aspects which are not to be shown to the investor. The reactions are quick, and that's the reason the price moves. Elon Musk makes a tweet and the prices just go up. That's because people follow it. But on the negative side, if a project speaks something negative, if they miss even one step on their roadmap, people just question. So this is, I mean, even the founders are more transparent because they know this is what the investors want and they only will have. So every Friday, I mean, I have like 30 coins where they have every Friday, if you go to on YouTube, the founders come on YouTube and they answer all your questions. They have Zoom calls that happen. So for Friday, 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock, because that's the morning in the US, most of the guys will come online and speak to you. The technical analysis is again a superb tool here because, people who want to make money by trading on a daily basis, the tools are far more advanced than any equity tool. In fact, some of the servers that cryptocurrency are using are better than NYSE servers. So the technology that has gone in is far, far superior because the transactions are superior and the micro details which are there. Like you will never find something like this. You can trade directly on chart. If I like this point, I click here and it allows me to do a transaction there and there. So that's the brief about everything. Each of this slide can be broken down into a 2-hour lecture, but I would leave that for some other day. Let's just absorb what we've seen because this is very, very new. For most people, it becomes difficult to fathom. You are still a very learned audience. I've had fights with regulators. Ye ho hi nahi sakta. Like if ho hi nahi sakta, then what am I giving the presentation for?
Nilesh, so new to us actually. It was very new to us. Definitely, we love to hear from you. Can we have every Saturday classes or something like that? We can have 4 or 5 sessions of the classes for short class.
Anytime, sir. Begin, sir.
So can we plan that classes? Gauravji, you may like to plan that classes,
Anytime, sir. My Saturdays and Sundays are only teaching. This is what I do. I have 3 more seminars.
We need 4 or 5 classes because one class we cannot learn things.
And I think our members are more interested in investment aspect of the BDC, including me and everyone actually, because we are so novice in this area. And basically, being a chartered accountant, we are always, used to see P&L and balance sheet. And here we are not able to see P&L and balance sheet. So we are afraid of putting our money into it, basically.
I know.
We have to unlearn and learn.
One of the comment which we receive is that we are only seeing the decimals in your screen.
So Nileshji, we have 3 questions. I mean,
sure,
we have a short time, but we'll just tell you the questions. how do we get access to blockchain? Do we have to buy the program? So that is the first question.
No, it's all open source. It's all free. Don't take it as program. If you open an account with any exchange, I'm not sure if there is any exchange in Oman. There are exchanges in Dubai. BitOasis yesterday got $50 million from Wamda Capital, which is the sovereign wealth venture arm. If you open an account, you are member of the blockchain. I mean, what are you trying to do on that blockchain is different. You can have your project become a founder on that blockchain. You can become a node operator, but for that, your investment has to be superior. Just go on and look at there's the biggest den that is coming in. It's on 3 acres. If you want to become a Bitcoin miner, they have computers spread over 3 acres to mine that 1 Bitcoin. And the heat that these machines generate, that's why people have gone up to Finland and do it, because wo snow mein covered rehta hai 8 mahina. The amount of air condition that goes in. One of the reasons China cracked down its mining industry was this, because it has global commitments to meet on sustainability. So what you want to do on a blockchain, if you want to become a trader, you go to Binance, open an account, you are part of a blockchain. You want to become an entrepreneur, you launch your project onto the blockchain. If you want to become a node operator or a miner, you have certain amount of requirements to fulfill, and you can become a part of blockchain. There's no KYC, there's nothing, there's no one who's going to restrict you to become one. So even if you open your trading account on a cryptocurrency, you are part of a blockchain.
Okay, the next question is, people can form a cartel and influence their decisions, right? So somebody asked, Shairam Subramaniam. So basically, I think it is referring to your, group of people.
Exactly, sir. But which group, where, who, how? It's way too difficult. Like I said, it can be done. I'm not defying the fact it can't be done. But the permutations and combinations are very, very difficult. Like you will make a cartel of people in India. What happens when your transaction goes and it has to be settled in USA? You don't have a cartel there. ऐसे तो फिर that's what blockchain is doing. आप सबका cartel बना लो, everyone comes on the same platform.
Yeah, sure. So I think now we have come to the conclusion of the event.
Yeah.
And so I would like to invite Davis sir to felicitate our today's speaker, Nilesh Moria ji. So I'll just Davis sir, I'll just share my screen. We have Nilesh ji a small token of appreciation for you. 1 minute, just give me a second. Sangeeta ji, I am not able to share that certificate. Is it possible for you to share, because it is open in my, but I'm not able to.
I will do it. I'll do, not a problem.
My apology.
No problem.
Devi sir, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Nilesh ji. Good afternoon.
Sir, please call me Nilesh. Please call me Nilesh. I'm like your son.
No, Nilesh, the thing is, the way in which you carried the presentation through that passion and, sincere approach, that's giving me a positive feel on this Bitcoin, actually. I never thought it is so genuine, This is the first time I feel that it could be possible that I could make some money out of it. Let us see. And Reviji also has expressed his interest in conducting weekly sessions. Maybe it could be a good session. Let us learn more and more about these new areas. Yeah, this is it. Okay.
Definitely, sir. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, DNG, for connecting, Sangeeta for working it around. I know I have been troublesome at a lot of places, but thank you for this.
No, it's our pleasure. So, David sir, if you can please felicitate our today's speaker.
Yes, Mr. Nilesh, so it is a great honor for me to hand out the certificate of appreciation to you. You had opened up a new area for us to think about and invest our good-earned money in going forward. So thank you very much. I hope that we'll be seeing more and more of you in Muscat.
Definitely.
Maybe we'll get a physical presence also shortly.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
and
much.
It's wonderful to serve you as a community, which I have always been a part of as family. Although, like I said, I had my own disabilities that I can't become a CA. But I'm so happy to have enlightened the community. Digenji, please feel free to send my contacts to anyone who wants to connect and understand. And I'm always part of the family, whether it's here, whether it's there. So feel free to call me up at 2 a.m. at night. I'm all yours.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
much.
Davis sir. Thank you. Before we go for conclusion of the day, I just would like to invite CA Shilpa Pawani to make an announcement for this Women's Day program. Shilpa.
Thank you so much, Digen bhai. I would like to inform all our members that we are having a leadership workshop on the 16th of October, on which we will also be celebrating our the Omani Women's Day. I request you all to attend in large numbers. We have Dr. Lei De Bruin who will be conducting the session, and she will be talking about the leadership skills. She compares leadership today with Game of Thrones, and hope to see you all there in large numbers. The Women Members Empowerment Committee will be hosting this, and we look forward to all of you being present on that day and showing your support for women. So thank you so much. Digen bhai, the stage is back to you.
Thank you, Shilpa ji. And now I would like to request CA Jim Joseph for vote of thanks.
Thank you, Digen ji. Very interesting topic, but a bit difficult to digest. Maybe it will take time. We had at one point 70-80 participants. I think they are taken the first part and left. Now it's reduced. We hope we can continue with the sessions with Nilesh Maurya ji. First of all, I would like to thank Nilesh Maurya ji for his efforts and enthusiasm. Thank you very much, sir. And our Chief Guest, Mr. Sulaiman Al-Harthi, Guest of Honor, CA Sunil Talati ji, for Davis sir and Prabhu ji for joining us today. Thanks to our local sponsor, CBFS, and our annual sponsor, Tally. Thank you very much to all our sponsors and corporate members. Thanks to all the members for attending today. Thank you very much. Over to you, Digen bhai.
Thank you, Jim bhai. So with this, we conclude this session, and I would like to thank everyone for attending this session. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Nilesh, especially.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nilesh.
We'll take a photo before we conclude. We'll take a photo.
Can we just take a photo? 1 minute. Sangeeta ji, will you take